In life's journey, we must seek to reflect, learn, and grow. Welcome to the Road to Rediscovery with your host, Aubrey Johnson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Road to Rediscovery. I'm your host, Aubrey Johnson, and I am so glad that you're here with me. The Road to Rediscovery is about reflecting on past life lessons to learn and grow from them and to take it to the next level and help others who are struggling through dark times. Have you ever had a dream of achieving something only to be derailed by doubt and uncertainty? Have you ever wanted to learn a new skill and not know where or even how to start? Or perhaps you felt stuck, not sure that you have what it takes to pursue the career of your dreams. My special guest is a certified rapid results coach. She's doing some amazing work uplifting and helping women find their God given purpose, discover their potential, overcome insecurities, and to reach their goals. Let's welcome Tessa Hopman to the show. Hey, Tessa, welcome. How are you doing?
Hey there, Aubrey. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me today. I'm doing very well, thanks. And how about you?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. Thank you. We are thrilled to have you here. And so, hey, let's just dive into it. Let's first start off by sharing with the listeners, if you can, you know, where you're from and generally what was life growing up for Tessa?
All right. So, originally from the Netherlands,
Mhm.
I've moved a bit now as I am currently in New Zealand via America for a little while and living in South Africa for 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
Life growing up, I always say I was raised by wolves. It was very chaotic.
Uh-huh.
My dad was a workaholic, so he was never
Mhm.
there, providing in what he thought was the right way and making sure we had everything.
Yes.
And so yeah, it was pretty much me and my brother at home. Mom unfortunately left as well, so it
Mhm.
was a bit of a
Mhm.
wild bunch. We got to control the house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very different from the normal growing up, but it also learned or taught me how to be independent very quickly.
Right.
And I just from there always just had this niggle that I was meant for something more than the current like little island I was living on. So
Mhm.
always searching, I would say. I think most of my life I was searching for something that I couldn't quite find.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, like you said, you got to learn a lot about independence at an early age. So, those simple independent skills that, say, someone who's maybe 5 or 6 would not be doing yet, like,
Mm.
like washing the dishes, taking out the garbage, doing your laundry. I'm sure you and your brother were kind of fending for yourselves and doing that early
Yeah.
on,
Well,
right?
not my brother so much. He just let me do it. But
Oh, he let you do it, huh? Was he your older brother or younger
yeah, he
brother?
was 3 years older. So he
Okay,
was in high school and he had his rebellious streak. So it was me doing those
gotcha.
things.
Nice, nice. Now, Tessa, you also mentioned you felt like you had the potential to do something more, to and not just be restricted to an island. Where did that fire come from at such an early age? And what was some of your first efforts in demonstrating or stretching those possibilities?
Yeah, where did the fire come from? I think at that point we're still driven by things we have no idea of and that we don't understand.
Hmm.
And as we grow up, and especially as coaches, when we dive into like how the brain works and why we do what we do,
Yeah.
you realize that things come from powerful drivers such as the longing to belong to something, the longing for attention and love, and to be seen as special. Um, and when you don't get those things without you realizing, you start looking for it in other places than from your parents, where you would expect to get it as a child. So
Right.
I think that first just pushed me because I felt there was a hole inside that I couldn't quite fill.
Hmm.
So that just pushed me for searching in different places. Unfortunately, none of them were the right places.
Mm.
And only when I went to America for a high school year did I actually become a Christian.
Mm.
And did I understand that that hole couldn't be filled by anything looking on the outside, and it was actually me receiving that from God. I mean, it was still, I was 17 then, and I think I pretty much struggled with me and my faith up until I was maybe 28, 29.
I see.
So it wasn't like, oh, I was saved and everything was fixed, but it
Hmm.
did slowly make more sense.
Hmm.
So I think the drive was just from the beginning, from wanting to be loved and be given attention and shown that I was enough. But it evolved over time into purpose, into knowing that I was created by a creator who
Yes.
put me in this on this earth for a greater purpose and to have that impact. So I would say it's an evolving journey.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. And I couldn't agree more, Tessa. It's not a flip of a switch, right? I mean, it's a journey. It's a journey. And let's say like parts of the journey that you said where you've searched in different places for things that you weren't getting at home and they weren't necessarily the right places, right? This is before you found Christianity.
Yeah.
That's all part of the journey as well. Is that right?
Yeah, and even afterwards, I mean, we live in a fallen, broken world, right? So
Hmm.
we still get lured by instant gratification, or we get lured by looking for things in people and in
Yes.
things and in
Yes.
possessions instead of looking to be fulfilled by Christ. So
Hmm.
again, when you get saved, it's not an instant solution. We don't give up our control, we don't give up our free will, and God wanted it that way. So it's still a journey of discovery who we are at the core and undoing all the worldly things. And like I said, it took me to 28, 29 to finally realize that who I actually was in Christ and accept myself for who I am and move forward from there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I couldn't agree more. Once again, I mean, it's 100%. I mean, thank you for sharing and being transparent in that part of your journey. I really appreciate it, Tessa. So let me ask you this. I have a question for you regarding something like that you referred to earlier when it comes to, we may be drawn by temptation or instant gratification and those types of things, right? Even after finding Christ and being saved, um, there's still challenges, right? There's going to
Yeah.
be even some setbacks, right? But we have the tools and know what we can do to ask for forgiveness and to try to do what we can to draw closer, even on those days and times when we drift away. But I want to ask you this question, and then I'd love to go into your business and your work, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, one thing that is a term that I have come to know quite well in at least my congregation and so forth is something known as spiritual warfare. And from what I've learned, at least, the definition of that is being where we're a brother or a sister, we're a son of God, right? We're a daughter of God. We're God's children, and um, we're trying to do everything we can to be obedient, to be faithful, to draw closer to Christ. Um, but somehow with the universe and the elements of the world and just different things that happen or different things that are thrown in front of your face that may kind of nudge you a little bit for temptations to go into a deviating path. We refer to that as spiritual warfare. And I wanted to know your thoughts on that, and the type of impact it could have on someone who is struggling to do the right thing.
Hmm. How long do we have? I think when it comes to spiritual warfare, I think as Christians, we either give the devil too much credit and we're like
Hmm.
stuck in fear because he can ruin our lives,
Yeah,
or we don't give him enough credit and just pretend he doesn't even exist.
yeah,
And wherever you are on the spectrum, still reality is, it says in the Bible, he is walking around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So we have so much responsibility there because we give him that foothold, we give him
yes,
that space in our life to deceive us and to tempt us and to and to put these thoughts in our heads and have those thoughts run rampant and grow bigger and more depressing and more negative. So I think we carry much more responsibility when it comes to spiritual warfare. On the same note of saying that, it is also so important to be in a community of like-minded people, because
Yes.
why my road took so long is because when I was in America, it was 1 year of sweet bliss. I was in a Christian university or a Christian high school. I had
Mhm.
Christian friends, I had a Christian family. And then that year was over and I had to go back home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
back home, my family didn't believe. I mean, my dad was a Christmas Catholic. He would go to church once a year. So that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
Um, so my family didn't believe. None of my brothers believed. None of my friends believed. And then
Mm.
I went off to university.
Mhm.
And then there's a life of parties, because in the Netherlands, like over half of the people are no longer believers. And I had no support system. Nobody took me to church. Nobody. So I was a
Mm.
baby Christian. I knew that Christ existed and I
Yeah.
had a little bit of background,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
was it. So that's why for years I didn't just get tempted. I lived completely in the world, because that seed was sown, but it wasn't growing. It wasn't being watered by my community. It wasn't being fostered by anybody. So even though I'm saying we have a big responsibility ourselves, when we're baby Christians, we need that support and that community, because we're just not mature enough as Christians to be able to deal with that on our own. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's my 2 cents on spiritual warfare and how that happens in our lives.
No, thank you so much. And that rings true. It really does. If we're out there floating alone, with no type of support structure or system, then that type of warfare, excuse me, it can afflict us, and having that support system, that's where it's at. That's so meaningful for for people to be together and be there for each other, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about the vine dresser
yes.
and the amazing work that you are doing. First off, if you don't mind, Tessa, if you can share with us what inspired you to explore this type of coaching. All right,
Mm.
and then talk about how the vine dresser got started and maybe some of the cool things that you're doing.
Awesome. Well, how it got started, I think for most coaches is from personal experience of feeling
Hmm.
unfulfilled, unmotivated. And again, God created us for purpose. And as long as we are not walking in it, we will always feel that emotional tension, and that pool is going to get bigger, because our soul and our spirit know where it's supposed to be, but in the body we are still like so concerned just working the 9 to 5, because who else is going to provide, and putting all that burden on ourselves. So
Right.
I was also there, and I got to a point where I couldn't even get out of bed anymore. And I was just feeling such heaviness on myself, on my
Mm.
soul. So it was actually my fiance who said to me, listen, I found this coaching course. Maybe you'll find your answers there to why you're feeling the way you are and what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I did it to find my own answers. And it was great to a point. So it
Hmm.
was all about neuro linguistic programming. So all about the science part of things. And I learned so much,
Right.
but I still wanted the biblical in my life. And I still
Right.
wanted to make sure that they were matching, because I wanted to walk the way of God, but also wanted to be happy in this life. So I
Yes.
started combining them together. And I really thought, well, if I need that as a Christian, I'm sure there's many other Christian people out there, women out there
Hmm.
who also want that, who want to feel fulfillment, but also want to make sure that they do it God's way.
Right.
So yeah, I started combining the two. And when it comes to a name, I also wanted it to be the godly influence. I just prayed over it. It's like, well, in my next Bible study, will you reveal the word? Like, what should I do with my business name? So I
Mm.
opened up my Bible, and here's a story about how Jesus is the vine dresser, and
Mhm.
how he prunes us and he tends to us so we can flourish, right? So
Yes.
he plucks out all the weeds and makes sure the soil is healthy, and he waters us. And I was like, that's such a beautiful description of what coaches do, help you to flourish and to
Mhm.
blossom into who God created you to be. So yeah, that's where the name came from. And since then it has been a journey of discovery. Like you saying, it's not just a destination, it's who we become on the road to it. So it's been ever evolving. I started just as a purpose coach for women. It has now grown out to coaching both men and women, not just in personal life, but in business now as well, and in growing ministries in businesses. So that's a beautiful growing journey. We're currently writing a book. So yeah, good things are happening, and just following God's path, and I'm just along for the ride.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, and I love the biblical and the Christian element that you blend in along with the science, to make this. I think that that makes it more holistic, right?
Mhm.
Because, like you said, there's a lot of spiritual people out there. There's a lot of Christians who could use your coaching and use your help, and I think this biblical side is an element that shouldn't be overlooked when it
Mm,
comes to the different types of setbacks and tragedies and even the triumphs and the
mm.
wins. This is an element that needs to be included when it comes to coaching or uplifting anyone, going through tough times. So uh, I have to commend you for including that element. Thank you so much.
Well, I think it's just like being upfront that where it comes from originally. I think a
Yeah.
lot of times, like the Bible isn't overlooked. People are just kind of like making it their own source. Because, for
Mm.
example, a law of attraction, manifestation, those things didn't fall out of the sky. They are rooted in the Bible. It just speaks
Yes.
things into being. We have creative power with the words that we speak.
Mhm.
Energetic blocks is because of our fear, worries, and anxiety. So they're just like taking the credit for something that God created in the Bible. So they're also using the Bible, they're just not mentioning it. So that's my
Yeah.
personal take on it. I'm just being upfront.
Okay.
It's I find neuroscience and then I find scriptures in the Bible to back it up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I see exactly what you mean. And yeah, I'm sure there's some people, like you said, they've taken a practice that they do, and and it's referenced in the Bible, but they don't say that part. So no,
Mm.
I understand that. Thank you for sharing that too. So on your website, you talk about helping people realize their true potential, right? People who feel like they're, say, going through some setbacks, that they're stuck, not quite sure where to turn, helping them realize their true potential. So, um, I know this can be a very long answer, but
I
if
keep it short.
how can you coach your clients to know when, based off the work that you do with them, and they reach a point to where you can see they've reached their potential, or at least they realize that they have more potential than what they give themselves credit for.
Mm.
How do you coach them to where they know that either A, I have reached my potential, or B, I am capable of more than what I thought?
Mm. Well, it's definitely mainly focused on B because
Hmm.
A, have we reached our potential? No, we will only
Right.
reach the end of our potential when our last day on earth has come and we have fulfilled our full potential and our full purpose. But
Right.
when it comes to B, realizing that
Hmm.
is just stripping away everything that you have put on yourselves, the burdens of guilt and shame, the burdens
Yes.
of your past experiences and what people told you that you were too much or not enough, and by stripping away those and instead focusing on the cross and what Jesus did for us and
Hmm. Hmm.
how he sees us, that is the true solution to it all, because he sees all those things in us. He knows our potential, but we are so focused on the negatives and the past experiences. And I don't know if you've ever heard about Gestalt theory. It says that we respond to things that happened to us in the past. We're actually responding to memories and not our current situation. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what holds us back so much. So in coaching, we look at you realizing your potential by showing you, first of all, the power of your mind, so the
Yeah.
power of what visualization can do, and
Hmm.
seeing your potential in the spiritual, and then also starting to speak it. So uncovering the lies and replacing them with God's truth about you, and just releasing those energy blocks, releasing the hold that your past experiences have over you. And from that point, you will be able to now move onto that road and grow into that. It's a continual journey over time. You don't just wake up one day, it's like, oh, I see my full potential now. No, we go
Right.
from
No.
glory to glory, like God says, and that
Right.
takes a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah, it takes work, right? And you're going to have days where, hey, we're taking steps forward, and then you're going
Hmm.
to have a day where you maybe take a step back, and it's that whole step forward, step back that's
Yeah.
all part of the journey to where, to where you start to learn and realize what your potential is. So,
Yeah.
uh and
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 you
th-
completed my sentence there. Thank you. Because I was like, I was going to say a little bit of time. I was like, no, it doesn't take time. But you're so right. It takes work and it takes deliberate choice and actions, because change can happen in seconds. It's just putting
yes.
the work in day after day and making that choice again. So thank you for that. That was the right word.
Oh, no, no. Thank you for a very specific piece of insight that at least resonated with me. I know it will resonate with the listeners. It's where you said the negative thoughts and the bad feelings that you have of yourself, limiting yourself to realizing that potential. Okay, banishing that, throwing that out, moving that aside, and inserting
Mm.
God's truth for you, for me, right? He
Yeah.
loves us. He wants nothing but the best for us,
Yeah.
and so, you know, our negative thoughts in our mind and stuff like that can't hold a candle to what he's capable of revealing to us. So,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what
Yeah.
I
And
took
it
from it.
comes back to what you said in the beginning, about we give the devil that foothold. We allow him to remind us of our past mistakes, because God said he doesn't even remember them. So why are we
Right.
remembering them? Is because we allow the devil to remind us. And
Yes.
my teacher once said, our greatness is covered under guilt and shame. And the guilt and shame is what we allow the devil to deceive us with, that we are stuck in that it's on us. And God is saying all the opposite. So by changing that focus, you will
Yes.
change your reality.
Yes, yes, it would change your reality for sure. Oh, awesome. So, Tessa, when it comes to working with your clients, and 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 the different things that there's different activities, different exercises, approaches, I'm sure that you guys work through. Um, there's never really a destination, but when your work with someone reaches a certain point to where there's considerable progress in how they feel about themselves,
Mhm.
there may even be they may even be have drawn closer to Christ, you know. And then you sit down with a cup of coffee and chat with them, and they say, like, in working with you, they've learned something new about themselves. What are some of those things, if they ever tell you that they've learned about themselves in their journey in working with you?
Ooh, one of the things that they say a lot is that
Hmm.
they didn't realize that they have a brain, that they are not their brain.
Right.
A lot of times people love beating themselves up for procrastination and self-sabotage and overwhelm, but that's our brain's limited way of keeping us safe. So
Hmm.
that first of all is already something that can set somebody free, just to realize, okay, well, it's not me all the time trying to hold back my progress. It's actually that brain that was created to keep us safe, and it's
Right.
doing that by trying to keep us in the comfort zone. So that is always an important realization for people. And
Hmm.
then another thing is something that I refer to as shadow values. That is, we are both dark and light, right? And
Right.
we aren't just purely good. However, those things are very powerful drivers inside of us. And even though they have selfish motives, I'm using society's words now,
Right. Right.
like the things like the need for control, the need for belonging, the need for superiority, attention. Some
Right.
of the people that might be listening to that now, it's like, oh yeah, I actually have a secret need to be feel special, and maybe I have a secret need to get recognized.
Yeah, yeah,
And those powerful things that we kind of push away, when they realize that instead of pushing them away, embrace them and
yeah,
use them for your goal and where you want to get to, because it can be such a powerful win-win for the people around you. And especially us Christians, like, oh no, but we're supposed to be selfless. But if I, for example, for me, if I use my need for recognition and attention to want to become the best coach, author, and speaker I can be, and in return, people get amazing value from it, they find healing, they find purpose and fulfillment, I'm actually doing them a service as well and filling my own cup. So that is one of the most powerful realizations that people have by
mm,
actually embracing who we are, both the like beautiful things that we tell people, that we're so patient and loving and kind, and
yeah,
then things that we kind of like push away, the ones about attention and wanting to be recognized. When we actually embrace all of it, we come into the fullness of God, who God created us to be. So I think those two are two things that I hear often that gives people a lot of freedom.
mm,
And just becoming aware of what you're thinking about. A lot of
right,
people don't take the time to ask themselves questions like, well, why do I do this certain thing? Or what do I get out of it? Or what can I think of instead? So a lot of times it's also just about awareness
yeah,
and
broaden
knowing.
awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So those three things I would say are the main things that they often bring up.
gotcha. Beautiful, beautiful. And I love how you mentioned some of the things that, we push away, and people would naturally, push those things away, like attention. You actually encourage them to not to push them away, but to embrace them, but to embrace them in such a way to, in order to get those needs fulfilled, you're doing something good. You're reaching out to help others, which, like you said, in turn, helps meet this need, right? So I'm sure it takes a degree of reframing in that person's mind. They'd have to reframe this whole thing that we would push away. We need to reframe it in such a way to where now we embrace it so that we can leverage it to do good and help others.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
beautiful, awesome. So Tessa, how can the listeners connect with you and learn more about the great work that you're doing?
Different ways. They can either go to the website you have visited, which is divinedresser.com,
Hmm.
or I'm quite active on Instagram, which is divinedresser.nz.
Hmm.
And otherwise, either download my workbook, which you're going to put in the show notes, I'm sure. And
Hmm.
there's a 12-week course that people can enroll for at the moment, which is starting 15th of March, I believe, and that is dreamertodoer.com. So I'm sure all of those will
Nice.
come up in the show notes, but that is the best way to read more about what's possible for the listener and how they can get in touch with me as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, and you're absolutely right. We are going to put the websites on the episode show notes, direct links to them, as well as links to connect with you on social mediums, Instagram, Facebook, in those areas. And if you and we can work together to get that book, that document, downloaded, or at least available to be downloaded from the episode show notes. I'm more than happy to put that up there for the listeners as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome. No, thank you for sure. And it's our pleasure. All right, Tessa. So now we are at the point where we go into a segment I like to call Three for the Road. And in Three for the Road, that's where I ask my guests random yet thought provoking questions, challenging them to answer in 5 words or less. So, what do you think? You think you're up for it?
Well, you've seen how much I talk, so I'm going to do my absolute best.
Oh, you'll do fine. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, Tessa. No, I have no doubt at all. All right, so here we go. And by the way, my questions are not cookie cutter questions that I ask the same to every guest. Okay, my questions are customized based on the background and the field of expertise for my guests.
Exciting. Bring it on.
Okay, all right, here we go. Number one for Three for the Road. What can we tell ourselves when doubt and uncertainty starts to creep into our heads while we're trying to reach a goal.
Oh, wow. I guess 6, trust God with all your heart.
Okay, gotcha. Trust God with all your heart. Love that. That says so much. Number 2, for you, Tessa, name one of your favorite films that involves one discovering their potential and reaching the summit of a seemingly insurmountable goal.
Oh, I don't know the name of that. I'm so bad with names. You're putting me on the spot now. I think it's called Pay It Forward.
Yeah, Pay It Forward. That's a great movie. I think Kevin Spacey was in
Yes,
there.
yes, that one.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the little kid. Oh, it
The
brings
little
me to
kid.
tears every
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. Awesome. Pay It Forward. All right. Number 3 to top us off for 3 for the road. This one should be easy for you. Fill in the blank. To get out of a rut, I must first
Take action.
take action. 2 simple words that means and says so much. Tessa Hopman, thank you so much for being on the show. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you so, so much. I had loads of fun. I could be here for hours. I really love this.
Oh, thank you. No, I could be here for hours as well. Now, look, I would love for us to stay connected. Okay. I'd love for you to come back on the show, let's say 5, 6 months down the line, and any new work or any new books or any new updates that you have for the listeners. Love for you to come back on the show and share with us. Would you like that? Would that be cool?
Yes, it's a perfect timeline. Like I said, we are in the process of writing a book, me and my co-author,
Yes.
about a practical journey of healing. So that should be
Yes.
done 6 months from now. We would love to share.
Oh, that's going to be valuable information for the listeners. So yes, let's get back together in that time and share and celebrate the emergence of your book.
Awesome. Definitely. Thank you so much, Aubrey.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. And I want to thank all of the listeners for tuning in and listening. And as a quick reminder, if you want to have heads up VIP notifications of upcoming episodes and guests before the episodes are even released, then it's real easy. All you have to do is join our mailing list at roadtorediscovery.com. That's road, the number 2, rediscovery.com. The Road to Rediscovery, it's a movement, a revolution. And guess what? You're now part of it. We're all roadies on this journey of life, and it sure feels good having you on the road with me. Thanks again for listening. We'll chat again soon.
The Road to Rediscovery is an AJ Shark production.